for unknown reasons, this is my very favorite plant. It is the golden currant. It produces edible berries, and it's also known as a buffalo currant, which I believe it gets that name because it was the primary berry used in pemmican in the past, where like early trappers and Native Americans, they'd get a buffalo, they would render the fat, the suet, or the tallow, and they would dry out the meat, and they would pulverize the meat into kind of like a powdered jerky, and then as a sweetener, they would often add berries, and I believe this was the primary berry, and that's why it gets its name, the buffalo currant. It's a native, which, I mean, it's absolutely everywhere. That's another one that I'm going up to now, and it comes in different colors. Sometimes it's like this really intensely, like, man, I want to say like a graphite black, and other times it's in this kind of sickly yellow, gooseberry looking, I mean, it is a gooseberry, right? That's what currants are, or vice versa. But yeah, it's just one of my favorites, because I think what makes it my favorite is that it's one of my very first, like, foraging plants that, like, got me into foraging, got me into trying them out and realizing that you're probably not gonna get a lot of calories, especially what you spend trying to get to them, but it's just, being in, like, northern Utah, you always hear people talk, oh, there's so many berries in Oregon on the coast, there's raspberries and blackberries, and, it's not like Utah, but we are equally littered with just a ton of berries. Like, look at this plant right now. I don't know how well you can see it, but it has just thousands of berries, and they're quite big, actually. Bigger than a blueberry for sure. Here's one of the orange ones that I was talking about. They just kind of have different morphs. I think each generation can be whatever color. I don't know how that works, but you can see this one here clearly has a ton of the great big orange ones, and then just a ways back you have the black ones again, and I think it's just dropping its seeds, and its daughter plants seem to grow. This one's actually really interesting because it seems like, yeah, these are ripe. This one is like red. I've never seen that in my life. That's super cool. What's really fun about this berry is it seems to have so much variability. Like, every aspect of it can be a little more different than, like, every aspect of, like, say, a wild blackberry. The flavors range from, like, I don't even know, like maybe like an apricot to like to kind of an almost artificial grape. One time I was eating one, and I don't know how to describe it, but for some reason it reminded me of like childhood Pop-Tart jam. It was just like, yeah, every time I go up to a new bush, it's not the same experience. It's kind of like it's its own berry every single time. And the bush, it'll also grow like more elongated. It seems like if it's closer to water, it's very much like a stick without a lot of branches, and it all kind of comes from the base. And then when you get up on a drier hillside, it seems to, it still has a lot of sticks coming up from the base, but now it seems like it has more branches. I don't know if that's just from, like, maybe it's more prone to deer grazing, and so there's some sort of pruning going on. But yeah, absolutely one of my favorite plants, and it's, sometimes you find a whole bunch of it. You can only have it a certain time of year, within a month, and then it's gone. can't buy it commercially. And so that kind of just creates like a natural holiday in a sort of way, you know? Right now is golden currant month. And yeah, it's just kind of nice to kind of go up here and get different berries. The other berries that tend to be up here, like in mass, is elderberry and then serviceberry. I'm actually trying to hike up to like this little area here because that's where all the serviceberries are. For whatever reason, this elevation and like this angle of the mountain just absolutely littered with golden currants. You go up higher, no golden currants. Now you have a bunch of serviceberries. You go over to this side of the mountain, you don't have anything at all, you know, and it's more sun exposed, so like you just have a whole different ecosystem. And yeah, it turns into a fun adventure. Like, I don't know, I think a lot of times, depending on my mood and my mindset, I kind of feel like oh man, I'm not in nature, you know, like that's not a nice, peaceful, serene meadow, right? That's a very busy freeway, highway, and a giant pile of sand that we've been digging out of the earth. But it's easy to look at like, oh, look at all the damage humans have done, and forget that like, oh, it's still going strong. In fact, if you change your definition of nature a little bit, it really helps to contextualize it and make it so you can enjoy it more. A while ago, I saw this old man walking around the park, and there was like, you know, some disturbed soil. They were digging up like a little area, and there's a bunch of Dyer's woad growing, and he's out here picking the Dyer's woad, because in Utah, that's like socially, you know, Dyer woad is bad, and it's destroying nature, and it's not good for X, Y, and Z reasons, and you know, it's not a native. It came here because I believe, you know, it has indigo dye in it, actually. And that's what they use to dye Levi's with, the blue jeans. But anyways, it escaped, and it's like completely naturalized. And it's doing great. And you can look at that as a context of like, oh, we destroyed nature. But it's obviously getting well adapted into the system. Nature kind of prevails, and really I think what nature is stuff we don't control. And so, you know, maybe it's not natural, but it's nature, because if you had and this area just like looks like rattlesnake energy to me. It's weird how that can like change your energy and mood and what you're focusing on. It's probably not even rattlesnakey. But yeah, if you can appreciate a plant, an organism, and the ecosystem constantly changing and shifting, then you can see beauty in Dyer's woad. And it's clearly not that bad. It only grows on highly disturbed soils, and it'll paint the entire mountain yellow. But, if anything, it's probably reducing erosion. I could be wrong, but it's fun to see things unfold, I guess. It's fun to see that nature's still kicking and moving and changing, and we might connect things. We might bring a seed over from one land to another and have it completely change the landscape, but we're not in control of it. Not yet. I'm sure when we get genetic engineering and we create little viruses and molds to kill all the things we deem unnatural and undesirable, I'm sure we will, and we will eventually, even in areas that seem untouched and natural, or at least seem unmanaged, will be managed through some other means of our abilities that are less obvious to the eye. But of course we are nature too. We're just like absolutely crazy, and I'm not sure we have a game plan with all of this. I don't know. Anyways, this is my favorite berry, and it was really fun. I found some red ones. I've never seen red ones before. yeah, this video's not really about anything. I'm just trying to get in the habit of talking, of filming myself, of posting videos. You wouldn't believe how hard that is to actually do. And I need to get over some fears. So I'm just gonna be producing a bunch of low quality videos that kind of are just conversational and try to build a community of people, like actual connections. I think that's an important thing to try to do for a variety of reasons. And I think this is the best way to reach out to like-minded individuals, is just talk about things that I'm interested in, and to kind of wear my interests and ideas and personality on my sleeve. But I think this video is plenty long for how low of, content to signal, noise, whatever ratio it is. So I'm gonna end it here.